How's it going, Internet people? Welcome to another exciting episode of Teal Hat Radio. I am your host with the most, who can boast the most stuff. Okay, I have already botched it. This is already a terrible take, but I'm going to keep going anyway because I've already got nothing to lose. I mean, it's a miracle I haven't even been demonetized after that whole Skeletor versus Beastman thing, let alone canceled. I mean, I don't know how it works on the rest of the podcast world with Podbean and Podbean and Google Podcasts and Spotify, and I think I might be on Tuned In, but I might have to look at my settings over on Podbean again. I know YouTube probably demonetized it because it's supposedly copyrighted music, but then I'm probably going to get demonetized for this new intro for sure, but screw it. I've long since stopped caring. Plus, this is really, the rate I'm going, this is really more of a hobby than anything else. Like, I have fun making videos. I have fun getting on YouTube and doing the reviews, usually. I mean, this podcast started because I wasn't having fun anymore, but that'll probably change sometime around September. I hope not December, but I don't know. I'm just not in the mood to sit in front of the camera, but I don't mind sitting in front of the microphone and having myself a little YouTube podcast talk here, and I don't mind talking to you guys, even if like one or two people are listening, and I hope you understand that sometimes I just have these vocal tics where I say a whole bunch, and I've been made aware of it. I listen to, there I go again, see what I mean? Like, I've been made aware of it by listening back to my own podcast, like, the same day I was going to upload it. Like, before I uploaded it, I wanted to see if it was still good, and as I was listening to it, it's like, God, I say a lot lately, and it's like, when did I develop this tic? I don't know when I developed this tic, but it's definitely something I noticed. Like, the podcast, I jokingly said in the description of the podcast, I say a lot, but like, yeah, I say a lot, and I don't know if it's a nervous thing. I don't know if it's what I say when I have no words and I just want to fill the void, and I don't say, like some people in my generation do. But, it's just, there I go again, Okay, I'm not going to dwell on it. I know I do it. I also know that there was a lot of this going on. Basically, I have a wired headset. I do have wireless earbuds, but I don't use those when I'm recording because these things hook into the microphone. I don't think this microphone has Bluetooth settings. I am using a Blue Yeti for the record, and I suppose I could just take the headphones out, but I like to listen to make sure that the microphone is on, because back in the old days when I was doing a different podcast back in like 2017 or so, I once did an entire show, and then I looked at Spotify and realized, not Spotify, Audacity, excuse me, and saw that, oh god, nothing recorded. This is just 30 minutes of dead silence. And when I have the earbuds plugged in, I can hear my own voice, and I hate the sound of my own voice, but I can at least hear it, so I know the microphone is on. Whereas I could just look at the bottom of this thing here and see the red light, but, I'm a blind guy. I can't exactly do that. I say blind, but blind in one eye, nearsighted in the other. I think we established this, like, very early on at some point, but I digress. Anyway, the music you heard at the very beginning is Paul White's entrance music in AEW, and I'm probably going to get demonetized for featuring it as my intro, but goddamn it, this song is awesome, and I wanted to share its glory with you, even if it's only like 30 seconds worth. I love this song. Like, Paul White, he's one of those, like, former WWE guys who found their way to AEW, and honestly, I think dude might be a bit over the hill at this point, but from what I saw on AEW Elevation over on YouTube, he's an adequate color commentator. I mean, he's doing what's asked of him, and I don't feel like he's an obnoxious commentator like, say, I don't know, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho as a heel commentator, he's awesome, but there are a couple of times where I feel like dude really could stand to tone it down a little. But that's neither here nor there. I like this music. This is probably Paul White's best music that he's ever had in his entire career. Like, he had The Big Show. Well, it's The Big Show. Like, 2 different versions of that. The first version took some getting used to, I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's like, I'm gonna listen to this guy, this big 7'2" monster come in here, and he's coming out to this music. It's kind of hard to take him seriously as an intimidating threat, but I don't know. It's just, the song was a little on the goofy side for my taste, and the remake he eventually got saddled with, that took even more getting used to, because you're so used to the original version, and then you hear this other version where, like, it's slowed down a little. It has a different vocalist. I didn't... But then we get to this one, and this is actually a really awesome song. It's kind of got that hitting the road kind of quality to it. Gonna hit the road, kick ass, chew gum, and I'm all out of gum sort of quality to it. Even if he is just doing color commentary, it's still a really good song, and if you're the kind of guy who downloads wrestling entrance music, I would recommend this one for sure. Okay, let me just pull up my... There we go. Oh, wait, actually, no. I forgot. Minutes before I started recording, I found a little interesting tidbit that I thought about sharing with you guys here. The website OnlyFans, if I'm reading this right, apparently OnlyFans is going to be purging all adult content from its website as of October, and be the first to admit, I don't really know much about OnlyFans outside the fact that it exists and that it's like the place to go for adult content, except not anymore, I guess. But like, why? What brought this decision on? Like, far be it for me to criticize a change in direction, but like, never mind shooting yourself in the foot. This is like swallowing a grenade. This is, from where I'm sitting and based on what I've heard and known about the site, this is basically suicide. You might as well just close the site entirely if you're going to do that. But I mean, I guess there's a non-adult content section in there somewhere, and that's fine. I'm talking about this whole thing like I care, but like, it's just an interesting little tidbit that I found, and it makes me think, dude, like, that's literally the only thing people ever go to that website for, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of a weird little thing. I might have to look more into this story, because this is all I've heard, and I have no guarantee it's true or not. I'm just saying this is the little thing that I heard, and it made me chuckle a little bit, because, like I said, I mean, adult content is like the only reason a lot of people even go to OnlyFans in the first place. It's basically Tumblr all over again. I say that like I know the first thing about Tumblr, but yeah. So now I'm looking at my sheet here. I say sheet like I actually have paper. It's a notepad document, but first item on the list is Matt Stone and Trey Parker bought Casa Bonita last week, and I remember seeing this on Twitter. This was like, on the trending section, it was like number 7 on the list when I found it. It probably went up and it probably went down, but that's where it was when I found it. And I remember finding that interesting, if only because I've been to Casa Bonita. And I say there's a story there, but it's maybe not an especially exciting story. Basically, when I was about, like, I want to say 18, my family and I went to this, like, we went on this tourist trap kind of thing where we went to Colorado. We rode around on a bus, and you know, we rode around on a bus. They took us to various tourist trap kind of places in Colorado. Like, they took us to a whitewater rafting thing. They took us to a candy factory, which I thought was pretty cool, and other places that the tourist company would probably think was really cool for old people, you know, old people and their grandkids maybe, you know, that's that sort of stuff. And I went on that with my family, and one of the places we went was Casa Bonita. And that was our lunch stop for the day, if I'm not mistaken. It was quite a while ago, but I remember going to Casa Bonita and I remember loving it. It was a fascinating place, and it's one of those places I wouldn't mind going back to one day and seeing, especially knowing that it's owned by the guys who do South Park. Oh Lord, that's an interesting connection right there. I will say, I get the feeling they thought pretty fondly of Casa Bonita too. I mean, they referenced it in one of their episodes, and it's one of the few things they reference in their episode and they don't talk shit about in one degree or another. But that's what they decided to spend their money on. And from what I saw on Twitter, like, one of the people who was talking about them buying Casa Bonita mentioned how much money those guys make for doing South Park, and it was their opinion that Paramount might be overpaying them. And when I saw the quote, assuming that this is an actual quote, mind you, but when I saw the quote, I thought, yeah, maybe. Like, microphones and computer software are pretty expensive these days, but when you actually take into account the scope of South Park and just how long it takes to make an episode of South Park, like, they can do an episode of South Park in a week, and you just look at the animation and all that, like, they might be getting a little overpaid, but at the same time, they're spending their money on Casa Bonita, most likely because they like Casa Bonita, and I can think of much stupider things you could spend your money on. Like, my favorite example is the guy who spent $8,000 on intestine surgery for his goldfish. I guess I'm just not a goldfish person. Like, I had a fish once and it died in a week. I did everything right, I swear. I ain't no dummy. I ain't no slouch. I fed the damn thing. I made sure the lid was on the bowl so the cat never got to it, and basically a week later, give or take, the thing was floating upside down. It's like, I did everything right and I still lost. Yeah, poor Speedy. May he rest in peace. But yeah, I guess I'm just not a goldfish guy, because $8,000 on a fucking goldfish surgery? Like, if it was a dog, if it was a cat, hell, maybe even if it was a bird, I could probably see it, but a fucking goldfish? Yeah, and of course there's the famous $63,000 umbrella stand that Lewis Black once brought up. No relation. I swear to God, that's still one of my favorites. $63,000 umbrella stand. Who the fuck uses an umbrella stand? I keep my umbrella in the corner of my office. That's how dirt poor I am, I guess. Extravagance. So yeah, I've seen people spend all kinds of stupid amounts of money on equally stupid shit, and this one I applaud. You know, you like Casa Bonita, so you bought it. Congratulations. I don't know how involved they're going to be in running it. They probably just do that thing where, like, they funnel their South Park money into Casa Bonita, and as a result don't have to pay as much in taxes, because the more money you spend, the less you have to pay. I don't know if they still do that. At the time you're listening to this, it's probably 10 years later, and they probably don't have that rule anymore, but as I'm recording it, I think that's still a thing people do. But, yeah. So, don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on that other than kind of neat. I'd love to go back to Casa Bonita someday. Maybe they put some South Park stuff up in tribute, for all I know and care, but for the most part, cool. Oh, but speaking of stupid ways to spend an obscene amount of money, there may be a Cruella 2 in the not-too-distant future. The only thing that's guaranteed is that if there is a Cruella 2, Emma Stone is going to be getting an 8-figure payment, somewhere in the range of $10 million for it. And this is nothing against Emma Stone. I'm sure she's a fine actress, and she does her job and collects her money, you know, but really, another fucking Cruella movie. I will be the first to admit that no, I haven't seen the first Cruella movie, but I did see the trailer for it, and my forehead developed this intense magnetic attraction to my desk. It is genuinely amazing I still have a keyboard, because at the velocity my forehead moved in order to plant itself into the desk, I didn't have time to move my keyboard, and I'm pretty sure I broke a couple of things in it. I know the C key doesn't work the way it's supposed to, necessarily, but that's neither here nor there. Really, Cruella. Like, there's this big trend in movies right now where we take female villains, and it's always a female villain, and we try to make them sympathetic, we make them sympathetic, they did it with Maleficent. They did it with the Wicked Witch of the West. They're doing it with Harley Quinn right now. Because like I said in my Suicide Squad review, we're all fucking in love with Harley Quinn. Or maybe we're just in love with Margot Robbie. But either way, we're all in love with Harley Quinn. And we made her a sympathetic villain now. And it's like, Cruella is the last person on Earth who needs a sympathetic backstory. Like, this is a woman who was going to skin puppies to make a coat. And they made a movie where she's supposed to be the good guy. And she's like... No. 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 You just don't do that. I viewed the trailer and I could not nope out of that fast enough. It was embarrassing. And from what I've seen, on Twitter, and from what I've heard on YouTube from other reviewers, there is like one person I have seen on YouTube who looks like they're sticking up for Cruella. I haven't watched the review yet, but it kind of sounds like they're sticking up for it, and I'll have to get around to watching it. But I'm sorry, man, but you are fighting an uphill battle on this one. The most positive review I have actually watched, not just saw the title of and kind of put it in the queue to watch later. The most positive review I ever watched was from everybody's favorite movie critic in the universe, one Bob Chipman, aka Movie Bob. And Mike, I think I loved his comment. I can't remember the wording exactly, but basically it was like, this movie takes the most absurd premise you could possibly imagine, and rather than trying to justify it, just doubles down and hardcore double dog dares you to take it seriously. And sometimes that works. Sometimes that's a funny idea, but not with Cruella. Like, I'm probably going to end up watching it when it becomes available for free on Disney Plus, because I fucking hate myself and I'm not allowing myself to have any sort of joy in life whatsoever. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. Just, why Cruella? That is so... I don't... Some people are just beyond redemption. This is something that I notice that a lot of people in this generation don't understand, is that you just can't... I don't mean to go all pro-death penalty on anybody, but, ideally, yeah, we can save the world, we can all hold hands under the fucking rainbow, but let's be honest, some people are just beyond redemption. There's no amount of, therapy or sympathy or medication you can give them to justify them living in normal society like this. And Cruella is one of them. And I can't believe you would actually go this route. Oh boy, I need to find a new topic here. Let's take a look at the list here. Here we go. Tim Drake, one of the 12 people who served as Robin at one point throughout the entire century of Batman comic books. Apparently he came out as bisexual recently, and because the comic book fandom as a whole is well known for their tolerance and acceptance of change and progress, there was a massive shitstorm about it. I think the word Comicsgate came up once or twice because it's the 2020s, of course Comicsgate is going to come up, and I don't know. Like, I've heard multiple accounts of what Comicsgate is. Like, one person told me Comicsgate is independent artists who are just saying no to the mainstream, and they're breaking out on their own, and they're making their own comics, reminding the world that comic books are enjoyable, and comic books were meant to be fun and have explosions and not have a bunch of artists beat you upside the head with a baseball bat to remind you that they're all delicate little snowflakes, etc. And then I heard the other side of the argument is that Comicsgate is basically a bunch of white nationalists who hate liberals, basically forming their own little collective and writing comic books to remind everybody that we need to make America great again. I don't know which side is right, and frankly I don't care because I don't really pay attention to comic books all that much. Anything I've learned about superheroes over the years comes from TV shows, movies, and possibly video games. But, you know, being visually impaired as I am, I don't really read a lot of comic books. So, that's that. But I guess Tim Drake coming out as bisexual is like the latest in a slew of people who are mad because, you know, those big bad snowflakes are taking over comic books and reminding me that I'm obsolete or whatever the argument is. But this is one of those times where it's like I'm not taking sides on the debate because I don't care. It's not like what was that comic that came out? It was like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I want to say Spider-Girl or Spider-Woman or something like that. Let's just say Spider-Girl so we have a name. You know, as a new comic book on the Marvel side of things, it was Spider-Girl, for lack of a better term, like I said. And the entire comic, the story of the first issue of the series was, like, dudes are on a cruise, you know. We're all having fun. And then this bro in a Deadpool t-shirt comes over here and is like, "Hey, bro, want a fist bump while chugging some brewskis? Toxic masculinity, FTW." Because, you know, how dare you be straight, white, and male in MySpace, you know? No, MySpace, not the long since Actually, I think MySpace might still be up, but that's neither here nor there. And, like, the entire comic book, like, there's, like, the bro was never the villain, you know? He was never intended to be the bad guy, but throughout the entire story, he was basically a punching bag because, you know, men bad, straight white men in particular, they're the worst. And that's one of those things where I said, yeah, I totally see this side of the argument. Yeah, this story sucks. I haven't seen the Tim Drake story where he comes out, but so maybe I shouldn't be making some judgments because I haven't seen it yet and probably never will, but like, this whole thing just kind of strikes me as a yeah, whatever kind of situation from where I'm standing. A lot of people have been raging about it, but I don't care. I'm a lot more concerned about the fact that they made Cruella de Vil a sympathetic character instead of this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to dwell on it, but just, really, we're getting another Cruella movie? The first one wasn't even good. Why are we getting a second one? Are we getting a second one? If we are, why? Okay, hold on a second. Let me find something else here. Well, I guess as long as we're talking about bad ideas and you wonder why on earth anybody approved of it. Well, actually, I hesitate to call it a bad idea, but I mean, we'll see, I guess. But in any case, the last item on my topics of discussion list here, Feonna and Cake are getting their own TV show. And if you don't know who Feonna and Cake are, they are basically a gender swap / species swap in the case of Cake. Gender swapped version of the main cast of Adventure Time. Instead of Finn the human and Jake the orangish blob with a dog nose, I'm assured is a dog, we have Feonna the human and Cake the Siamese cat. And I could kinda maybe see why Feonna and Cake are getting their own show, because Feonna and Cake have a following. I know, it's baffling. I am of the firm opinion that gender swapping is the single laziest form of reimagining. But for some reason, I'm in a minority on that one, and Feonna and Cake is actually, I'll be honest, Feonna and Cake is one of the better ones, if only because the episode where they debuted, and then it was revealed that it was all part of Ice King's fan fiction collection. That was actually brilliant. That made me laugh. I mean, I'll be the first to say that, like, Adventure Time wasn't, like, my all-time favorite show in the universe. Like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't go out of my way to watch it when it was on. Like, when it came to Cartoon Network in the early 2010s, I was kind of at that point in my life where I was sitting there and the thought was kind of starting to form in my head that I think I might be getting a little too old for Cartoon Network at the rate things are going. But one of the shows I did like on Cartoon Network that kept me around longer than I probably should have stayed was hands down Regular Show. That was my favorite show. And Uncle Grandpa was a very close second place because I know a lot of people didn't like Uncle Grandpa, I guess, but I don't know. I just saw beauty in its chaos. Like, it was a complete train wreck, but it was an awesome train wreck. It took imagination to come up with Uncle Grandpa. Like, it either took imagination or it took a ridiculous amount of peyote, but either way, I liked that show. But I didn't love Adventure Time as much by comparison, but I still watched Adventure Time from time to time. You know, I watched it with my friends who were more into it than I was, and I think we stopped at, like, season 3, I think, or season... It was at the point where they introduced Fire Princess, I remember, and that was kind of the point where I stopped watching, not out of, like, disgust or out of... Like, I wasn't one of those guys who's like, the show sold out. It wasn't really like that. It's... Like I said, it's like the thought had finally formulated that I think I might be getting too old for Cartoon Network, and I just sort of moved on with my life, and Cartoon Network, outside of Adult Swim, really didn't do anything to engage me and stick with the daytime lineup. Adult Swim definitely did. Rick and Morty and Ball Masters was surprisingly good, but I digress. I remember, the only other thing I really remember about Adventure Time was that everybody was losing their collective shit in one direction or another, because at the very end of the series, like the very last episode, I guess, Princess Bubblegum and, what was the name of the vampire again? Like, I really want to say Anais, but I don't think that's the vampire. It's like Marceline. Oh my god, that's the name of the vampire girl, Marceline. Okay, where did I get Anais from? But from what I heard, the last episode of Adventure Time had Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, the vampire girl, kiss, and everybody was just losing their shit in every direction imaginable. And I thought, you know, it's like, well, I don't know, like, it is the 2010s, you know, things are different now. I actually did eventually get to see the scene, and it's honestly just, you know, like a little peck, you know, and it's like, is that all? Really? Jesus Christ, the way you guys were talking, I thought they unhinged their jaws and made out while fireworks were going off in the background. It's like, it's just a little, you know, no. Like, you... Like, yeah, it was on the lips, but aside from that, it's like, I don't know. I think you're making a big deal out of nothing here, guys. Like, it's a kid's show, and we are becoming a lot more accepting of certain things compared to, like, the 90s when that sort of thing was, not really frowned, like, it was frowned upon, sorta, like, we didn't approve, but we didn't disapprove, but we were okay with it, but we weren't okay with it at the same time. It was... The 90s were confusing, whereas, like, the 2010s and to a greater extent the 2020s, we're a lot more okay with the ideas. But I'm going on a different rant entirely. That was, like, the last thing I heard Adventure Time related, and the only thing I'd really heard between me dropping off and Marceline and Bubblegum falling in lesbians with each other, I guess, was... I guess somebody insisted that Adventure Time sold out somewhere down the line. It became a money monster. And I'll take their word for it, because, I mean, they did eventually make that card game that they played in Adventure Time into an actual card game, and God, I wish I had 20/20 vision, because I would love playing cards. You know, I could do playing card games like Crazy Eights and stuff like that. I could do Uno, but I can't really play games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering unless it's on a really, really big screen and I can look at my cards. And I probably would have picked up the like I said, I'm not the biggest Adventure Time fan on the planet, but I totally would have picked up that card game. Not mostly just so I have a new card game to play with friends, you know. That's the thing I'd do. But yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Then we're getting into this territory of making Feonna and Cake its own TV series entirely. And now I think I'm starting to see it. I mean, I said earlier, maybe, I can't remember now. But I said at some point, gender swapping is the laziest form of reimagining. And, I mean, they did it with Ghostbusters, and look at how that turned out. And they're doing it with Feonna and Cake, and, you know, look, not everything in the universe can be River City Girls, okay? You know, River City Girls was lightning in a bottle. That really had... It's one of those things where it's like, I hesitate to say it had no business being as good as it was, but, like, you know, it's like, I didn't go in with very high expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised. But not everything can be River City Girls. Like, everything, like... I say all this like the show has premiered and I actually watched it, and I'd be lying if I said I actually had plans to watch it. Like, I don't know, maybe if enough people in the comment box tell me to go watch it, maybe I'll watch it when it comes out. But as it stands right now, I don't feel this urgency to watch it the moment it debuts on HBO Max, but we'll see, I guess. I don't know. Adventure Time has kind of become Cartoon Network's SpongeBob, in the sense that, like, it has no soul anymore. Especially if we're getting into spin-off territory, because, like, SpongeBob, from what I've been hearing throughout the internet, has, like, it has multiple spin-offs now. Like, it has a CGI animated prequel series called Camp Coral, which I'm not a huge fan of SpongeBob either, if I'm being entirely honest, but, like, why would you ever... Like, never mind the prequel bit for a second. Why would you do 3D animation? Why would you make a prequel? Why would you set it at summer camp? Like, just why? I guess they gave Patrick Star his own TV show, too, and that makes a little more sense. Like, not a whole lot, but it makes a little more sense, I guess. And that's just the territory. It's like, yeah, SpongeBob is basically a... I don't mean to be disrespectful, considering the creator of SpongeBob died like a couple years ago, but it's basically looking like SpongeBob is a corpse right now. It is barely hanging in there. Like, it's not quite the sick man, but it's definitely not doing what it used to do. And I have a feeling Adventure Time is kind of doing the same thing right now. Like, if you like Adventure Time, by all means, watch Adventure Time. I'm not going to stop you. I might even join you, you know, because it wasn't bad. I remember at the beginning it wasn't bad. It might still be good all the way up to the end, for all I know and care. But, yeah, it's like, if you like Adventure Time, more power to you. If you like SpongeBob, more power to you. These are just my observations. And if you like Feonna and Cake, that's fine too. I mean, clearly it had a following before it became its own TV show, and that's fine, I guess. I think the worst thing I could say about Feonna and Cake is what I say about a lot of things. This is what happens when you give the audience the pen. And one of the things I've learned in writing is you never give the audience the pen. Which is one of the reasons I was a bit critical of Harley Quinn's cartoon over on HBO Max now, is having Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn become a couple is basically giving the audience the pin, because it's what the audience thinks they want. So they caved and they gave it to them. And I think a lot of what I'm saying is wisdom from past experience, and just as much of it, though, is probably me being sad because Kite Man, I really wanted Kite Man to succeed, and he got shoved aside so everyone can have their fucking masturbation fantasy about Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. Whatever. This has already gone on way too long, so I'm going to end the podcast here. I hope you have enjoyed my insane ramblings. Hopefully I didn't fill your ears with a whole bunch of you-knows and rattling the mic. I think I did a pretty good job, but I'll listen to the playback here and know for sure. If you like what you see, follow me on YouTube at Tommy Teal Hat. Follow me on Twitter at Tommy Teal Hat. Subscribe to the podcast on your preferred platform, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever. Follow me, like I said, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Do the YouTube shuffle, as I say. I'll see you next time.